Hello, and happy Tuesday evening if you're here on the East Coast in the States, and whatever time it is, wherever else you are. I hope you're having a good one, or whatever day it is, and whatever time it is. So it's nice to see so many familiar faces in the chat. Welcome, everyone. And we've got quite a bit today. Actually, it's only two cases, but they're both quite interesting. One of them is in regards to, well, some of you may be very familiar with, having followed this with me prior to a live trial, Alex Murdaugh. Yes, Richard Alex Murdaugh is back on True Crime Updates with the bear, because, like, there's stuff going on. Yep, there's stuff going on. And I'm ready to get you all the information on it. Seems like Alex Murdaugh has actually got two more indictments on him, two more charges, one indictment in South Carolina, bringing his total up to 101 charges and 20 indictments. Yes, you heard me correctly. 101 charges to date, and now 20 indictments. Wow. This man's prolific, if anything. I mean, he is killing trees everywhere. He's just taking down whole forests, whole sections and parts of states with forests, with the trees, with the paper that he has actually consumed. Although we do file electronically a lot with the court, they still do have to print it out and file it and stamp it and disperse it and do all that stuff. He's still killing trees. I'm telling you, it's busy. But as you know, these are not related to the murders that he's already been convicted of, which we watched that trial together. And he's still in jail on that, although there is rumor of major appeal work going on. But besides that, his financial crimes. The two indictments are clearly, the two charges in the one single indictment are clearly related to the fact that, well, South Carolina has put two and two together, that since he has admitted to all these financial crimes, they have now got all the documentation in his depositions and all the paperwork from all the banks to prove that he never reported the income. That's right. They're going to get him for all the back taxes too, personally. Yep, that's what these two charges are. Let me give you a copy of the indictment. For those of you who like to read, some of you are a little legal nerdy like I am. And if you are, here is the document for you. It's a public document. It should be available through, if you can't open the link, let me know now, and I will make sure that I recalibrate it and put it down in the description. But basically, they're saying that he willfully attempted to evade or defeat a tax that is required that he pay in South Carolina. And, listen, Crichton Waters and D.A. Wilson over there. D.A. Wilson is not messing around with Alex Murdaugh. I mean, they're going to be busy there for years to come on these cases. But that's not the only thing going on with him. Well, let's just finish up on this. He basically, they are accusing him of, from January of 2020 through December of 2020, that in addition to the millions of earned income as an employee with his law firm, that he received an additional $1 million through an ongoing scheme to defraud said law firm and the clients through illegal and legal settlement proceeds by misappropriating them. The funds devised from this scheme were then diverted to his personal accounts, to where, well, it appears that Richard Alex Murdaugh forgot to file personal taxes on it. There you go. They busted him. Cold out. To the tune, oh my gosh, let me get these figures for you. It's all from 2020 to 2021. That first count that I read you was just for the first year. And in that first year, okay, with that $1.12 million that he defrauded from everyone, he owes the state of South Carolina another $67,624. And for 2021, which was the second charge for that year, on his confessions and his statements on trial, on his murder trial, he admitted to all of this, and he gave depositions to the acts and admitted it. They have calculated for 2021 with another over $1 million that he defrauded from his firm and clients personally. According to the indictment, he failed to file a tax return on that year also, just forgot, you know, and owes another $64,948. In total, for all the two indictments allege that $9 million, like I'll say it again, $9 million of unreported income, and thus the state tax evaded in the amount of $639,391. Attorney General Alan Wilson would like to get that money in for the state. That would be a good job. That might also like really look good for re-election. That's a lot of dough. That's a lot of dough. And Alex Murdaugh can't even fight it. It's his own words, his own confession, and the documentation from his own bank statements that actually prove it all. There's no contesting this one. They might as well just send him a bill. I mean, this is it. This is it on this one. Mm. Oh, Garris, what? Let me just hold on. Let me put that up for you there. Get over here. Nice to see you, by the way. Thanks for stopping in. Hey, MJ. Garris would like to know if there's any news on the case that his son was involved in. Are you referring to the Stephen Smith case? I would like to be sure about it. The Stephen Smith investigation. The young boy who was found on the side of the road, is that the one you think his son was involved with? Or do you mean the deceased son, the one he just was convicted of murdering? In regards to the boating accident, that's still going on. That's a civil lawsuit. They're still looking for money. Yes, the young man that does. Okay, so you mean Buster Murdaugh. Buster Murdaugh has not been indicated officially in the investigation, although I'll tell you, his name gets thrown around a lot. I agree with you. Almost everyone that they talked about indicated Buster. And when you read the indictment, actually the investigative documentation that I listed prior from the Highway Patrol, they went into great detail that everybody they talked to kept bringing Buster up. There's rumored to be testimony from a young man who says he and his friend were with Buster and they were busting up mail boxes, and it appears that perhaps Stephen Smith was one of the theories is that he was hit in the head with a bat while they drove by, and that's why he's in the middle of the road. So yeah, that's all I have on that. I don't have any official reporting for you, which is why I haven't run an update on it. But as soon as I have what I call the 3-point check documentation, like it's coming from a lawyer, the courts, or some kind of official, and then there's a lot of major reporting on it, and then there's some Reddit like stuff going on it, then I will definitely, absolutely do an update. Oh, thank you so much. Crazy Cats has just gifted a membership to the channel, and it looks like it was awarded to Tony Regime. You are up again for another 30 days, Tony. Welcome. You've been here before, and I'm glad you're back. And thank you, Crazy Cats, because I truly do appreciate the support. It keeps me out here having the conversations. And I really appreciate it. It just shows me that you like the content and you want to share it with others. And thank you for that. To all of you coming in, thank you very much for being here. Hey, Record, thank you so much for the otters, and thank you again for feeding them. We wouldn't want anybody being mistaken for a strawberry, you know. So thanks. Thank you so much. Let me just see. All right, so back to Murdaugh. I think that was the only question so far. But like I said, at me, people, and I will try to get to them as we go. So Alex has got more indictments to worry about financially. I don't know where all this money is going to come from, but whatever they have and settled is going to go to all these lawsuits, okay? All of these lawsuits. We definitely, I know you remember what Alex looks like and his lovely attorneys. okay, Jim Griffin and Dick Harpootlian, okay, they are still very involved in every single case, especially Jim Griffin. Get used to that face and name because everything that goes to court has got Jim Griffin on it. Okay. Dick Harpootlian, as you know, he has official capacity there and he needs to do Senate work and things like that. And he just really doesn't have as much time in South Carolina. The lawyers there are allowed to take a break from this period to that period based on when the Senate is running and not to have trials. They are given a courtesy. So some of the cases that he is the lead on in regards to Richard Alex Murdaugh get delayed. It's part of the scheduling conflicts, and it's an agreement that they have with everyone there because they want people to be able to fill those positions and yet not have it conflict with their busy practices. So there. Mm. But yet Jim Griffin's on a lot of that. A lot of that. Okay. Yeah, it's a lot. MJ, when I talk about how much money South Carolina is looking to get from him, and that's just in back taxes. Okay. So if he didn't file for the state, anybody think the IRS for the federal government is not that far behind? I mean, I know they're a little backlogged with everything going on in, with having, the IRS downsized and everything right before the pandemic and then everything going this way. But if he owes that much to the state, just imagine how much he owes the federal government and how long he's going to be working that off in because, state liabilities in federal liabilities for taxes don't get written off when you file bankruptcy. Just a little tidbit there for you. They don't let you get away with it. Doesn't matter if you're indigent, you're going to owe it forever. It takes a lot of jumping through hoops to get excused from anything like that. So it looks like he's going to be paying and paying and paying and paying for quite some time. Well, that's not the end of it. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Because Alex also, let me see if I could get this to move. Okay. During his depositions for the Satterfield case alone, now there's a lot of hot speculation going on because, as I quote, and you can see here up on the screen, that he actually answered in his answers back, they go back and forth with the list of questions, and here is the motion with what the complaint is, and then you answer paragraph by paragraph. And in Alex Murdaugh's answers back to the charges in the Satterfield case, okay, which is one of the indictments for major insurance fraud, money laundering, you name it, it's got everything. It looks like a big criminal cartel situation there. Whatever they could throw at him, they did for the Satterfield thing. But defendant admits the allegations of paragraph 17A and B and says that no dogs were involved in the fall of Gloria Satterfield on February 2nd, 2018, after Miss Satterfield's death. Defendant invented Miss Satterfield's purported statement that dogs caused her fall to force his insurance to make a settlement payment. And he stated that she was not on the property to perform work. Now, this is a big problem. This is a huge problem. And let me just make it, I'm going to just simply state why. The Satterfield settlement has been paid by an insurance company under contract for certain conditions. It had to be it was a homeowner's insurance policy that paid out to the Satterfield boys for the death of their mother, like an accident, because she was working as a maid on the property. It had to have something to do with her work or the people there or something to do with the property in the home. This is why Alex Murdaugh invented the story about the dogs. And now he's claiming he invented the story about the dogs and that he is the one that crafted the statement that was supposedly issued from Miss Satterfield from the hospital. Okay? Listen, this is bad because This now affects the Satterfield boys. If the insurance company wants, they could pull back the money, or they can leave it with the boys and just go after Alex Murdaugh to repay it. But here's the risk. If they really want the money, does anybody think that Alex Murdaugh's going to have the money to pay back? The best bet is just get it from the boys and worry it all later. And did the boys have to sue Alex for it? And they're not going to get it. So again, Richard Alex Murdaugh is messing with the lives of everybody else around him who hasn't been touched by this monster and had their money taken, their lives ruined in some way, whether by reputation, money, or even the loss of a loved one. This is toxic. He is like walking toxicity. I, and that laugh is just a nervous laugh. That's not, I think it's funny. I feel so incredibly bad. Like, I can't even fathom to be in the situation of young Tony Satterfield. And I hope that the attorneys in the boat case get a hold of this and run with it. I do. And actually, I hope, because of how nice Mark Tinsley is, that he actually helps Tony Satterfield sue the damn pants off the whole Murdaugh family to get what they need. Because, all right, I know that's going to sound a little harsh. I mean, you're going to say, yo, Claire, Bear, back off. The rest of the family had nothing to do with Alex's lies. Like, they're not the ones who stole the money. Like, they didn't do anything. They didn't? Did you not see them all there in the trial covering for his ass, inside out and up and down? It sounds to me like a profitable little family cartel thing. How the hell did he keep it? He's an idiot for what he did. It's all documented. For him to be able to keep it quiet for 20 years, don't tell me they didn't know. Do not ask me to be that foolish to think that they didn't know. You saw the man. He may be a clever manipulator. He may be able to lie through his teeth, but he's not the best at hiding the actual facts. It was all documented. Look how many of his associates are in jail because of the sloppy paperwork. They didn't even try to hide it. You're not going to tell me that family didn't know. Randy and John, they didn't know? Brothers? You don't think Dad didn't know? Really? I think so. And I think that they could probably prove it. I mean, some of the money that they actually got and misled was in their names. But they're not pressing charges. I know it's not nice for me to say family against family. I get it. But I really do believe this. I really do believe that the Satterfields, and the families of that young girl for the boating accident, they need to get justice. Okay? Their only misfortune was knowing Richard Alex Murdaugh. They came into his sight. They came into his life somehow. And look what he did. Look at all the people that he damaged. All of them. And some, even his good friends. Like, let us not forget the other one that's going on right now. Remember Russell Lafitte? Okay. He's also trying to use the testimony to his behalf, but it's not going as well for him. He did file a motion to try to get a new trial based on the fact that during the trial, if you may remember, some of you may remember statements from Alex Murdaugh that were like he did all this alone, and that certain people like Russell had nothing to do with it, and that he committed all these crimes without being aided and abetted in any way, and blah 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 blah. Yeah, but unfortunately for Russell Lafitte, the judge in his case actually listened very carefully to what Judge Newman said at sentencing. And Judge Newman, if you'll recall, made a very clear statement. This defendant has done nothing but make a sham of this court while he's been here. He has been untruthful, manipulative, and told lies. Therefore, all the statements that Russell Lafitte put forward, where Richard Alex Murdaugh says, "Oh no, now I'm telling the truth. Now it's this way." No, they they don't have to believe it. And this judge actually is saying, for the proponents of evidence, as far as he sees, there's no reason to believe that Alex Murdaugh is telling the truth in that trial at all. And so, no, Russell Lafitte, sit your butt in jail. You're not getting a retrial on this. Nice try. He had already tried after his November conviction to get a retrial on another technical term, but he's been denied. hmm Well, not going to work. This is exactly what Murdaugh said. Russell Lafitte, he named him. He named him. That seems to me to be a little suspicious. Russell Lafitte never conspired with me to do anything. Whatever was done by me. This is stuff that I did. I did these things wrong. Russell Lafitte didn't do anything. You keep talking about stuff I did with Russell Lafitte, but what I want to let you know is that I did this, and I am the one that took people's money, and I shouldn't have taken any money, and that Russell Lafitte was not involved in helping me do that knowingly. If he did it without knowing it. Well, that is a very unfortunate statement, because that is what Richard Alex Murdaugh is saying now, or what he said in court in February. However, in November, when he was subpoenaed to actually testify for Russell Lafitte, he actually said he'd show up, but he'd plead the fifth. He wasn't going to tell them that he did everything and Russell was innocent. So Russell went to jail. Russell's sitting in jail. Russell Lafitte is sitting in jail because his good friend, Alex Murdaugh, he couldn't be bothered to go to court and tell the truth then. So where is the truth? And that is exactly what the opinion of this judge is. And that's what I just dropped for you there, the judge's opinion. And I actually thought that was good reading, because it goes through the statements. It says why he doesn't have to believe them, and just says, whoop, nice try, Russell, but your good friend should have stood up for you in the court the first time. Just because he's had to change a heart to try to get people off, because he's going to be sitting his butt in jail for the rest of his life, and maybe he'd like some Christmas presents, some, cigarette money and visitors once in a while. His pangs of consciousness are coming a bit too late. Now that it's a documented, it's not for a retrial. No substantial. To get a retrial, you actually have to have evidence that will actually be new to the jury, to actually change their view or outcome on the trial, to actually really affect it. The judge is saying here that although Richard Alex Murdaugh has made these statements, there is no reason to believe a jury is going to believe it. The other jury didn't believe anything he said. Why would this jury believe anything he said? You're going to be able to prove he was lying all along. Which statement is true? They just wiped each other out. The documentation proved Russell Lafitte signed the loans, opened the accounts in fake names. That didn't happen without his knowledge. Come on. It's a little far-fetched, but I do think it is amusing to watch South Carolina lawyers juggle this stuff. I am enjoying it a lot. Can you tell? I mean, the lawyer shenanigans is brill. But even better is every judge's opinion that I read out of South Carolina is epic. It's just like, it's like a legal floating cloud, and then a hand comes down and just smacks them on top of the head in very eloquent writing, very elegant statements, very precise. I have to say, I'm really enjoying it. I know, exactly. Always you're reading my mind. Exactly. Why should they believe him now? Exactly. Why would they in any way believe this man now? Okay. So, mm. Yeah, the documents, they're all signed, and they're signed by that official at the bank. And that was the connection. He was giving loans to Alex Murdaugh without collateral. He was fudging on documents and procedure because he was his friend. And that's what he's in jail for. He trusted his friend. That's why he's in jail. Okay. And because they could prove he defrauded his own bank. Yeah, crazy cat says, yeah, all of those documents they brought into court that like Alex like just thought was shredded somehow. Yeah, Alex and Russell thought, well, the bank doesn't keep that kind of stuff, right? Like nobody'd be able to find it. Yeah, no. Mm. I'll tell you. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that update of Richard Alex Murdaugh to you because, for one, I did find it rather legally enticing and amusing, all the shenanigans and the hoops that people are jumping through, and how busy all those South Carolina lawyers are going to be with 20 indictments in 101 charges, all related to everything that Alex Murdaugh did for 20 years. Okay. Mm. Exactly. You know what? Always, you got a very valid point there. Just his signature on those documents made him complicit. It's up to him. That's his position at the bank. Yup. Absolutely. Yeah, MJ says, "Yep, he was thinking about it in that photo. I just took the photo down, but yeah, that was like a humph, like a hump photo. Like, oh, I really need to rethink my friendship here with Richard Alex Murdaugh. Like, it's not going well for me. Okay, yep, he's definitely thinking about how to answer stuff for sure." Exactly, Liam. Or you have to show, in order to get that mistrial, you have to show that the previous evidence was either false or should never have been seen by the jury. Now, he he did try to say that the evidence was false in regards to what they said he did with Alex Murdaugh, because Alex Murdaugh was now saying it wasn't true. However, Alex Murdaugh didn't show up at the trial to do it. He said that he would actually, if subpoenaed, plead the fifth, and he wasn't going to come, so they didn't bother calling him. Why call him to the witness stand if he's going to plead the fifth? He's not going to answer any questions. It was a waste of time. So there's no evidence to throw out. There's no prior statements from Alex Murdaugh to throw out. He was convicted on the evidence in the paperwork without any statements from Alex Murdaugh at all as to whether he did it or not. It's good. Yeah, probably looking. I agree, Liam. I don't think this is about remorse in regards to Richard Alex Murdaugh, the way he testified and said that he was guilty and all of this. I thought that was live action role playing of a man on his, knowing that they nailed him because of that video that was on Paul's phone that he didn't know they had, that placed him at the scene of the crime. He knew there was nothing to go against that. All he could do was hope that the jury would believe him if he went up there and just confessed his soul about being a loving father and a loving husband and how he would never do that. And oh, by the way, I'm telling you now the truth. I'm so guilty of all these financial crimes, because he's already been indicted, like at that point, 18 times with 98 charges. But that's besides the point. Like now he wants the jury to believe that he's had an epiphany somehow when his life was going between his past his eyes. He was basically going to just tell you the truth now. He'd been lying through his teeth to everybody he knew, and I mean everybody. His family, his friends, his clients, his partners, everybody. He probably lied to the dog, Bubba. I'll bet you he lied to Bubba too. He's just a liar, okay? And we're supposed to believe him now because he's crying to the jury about telling the truth. And I actually applaud the judge for not reversing a damn thing, for not giving him a new trial. I'm sorry, Russell Lafitte. Your friend should have stood up for you before, and you should have been more weary of your friend. You are suffering like everyone who suffered in Alex Murdaugh's circle. I'm sorry for that. I am. But quick buck, quid pro quo, old boys school, you do for me, I do for you, hell with the rules. We're all entitled here. That's what you get. Sorry. That's exactly how I feel about it. You want to play that entitlement game? Like it's who you know and I don't have to follow the rules like everybody. The rules are for the little people. Yeah. No, but the law is for everyone. So get comfortable, Russell. Looks like you're going to be there a long time, along with Alex, Hmm. Maybe someday, should the stars align, you'll both be in the same place and you can deal with this personally with Alex yourself. Okay? Maybe that'll make you feel better, but the judge ain't doing it for you. And that's all they wrote on that one. Judge is not going to do it for you. You're not getting a retrial. You are now part of the club. Well, you were part of the club of the Alex Murdaugh victims, which include just about everybody you ever met or knew. Everybody. Mhm. Exactly, Liam. Liam says, admitting to everything which is evident doesn't make any unsupported admissions true. Exactly. Just like they already nailed you on it. So actually saying, oh yeah, like the just admitting to it was like, oh, you got me. Like, so what? Like I didn't tell you before. Hmm. Nope. Hmm. Crazy cats. The bank clerk manager could have reported it at any time. Fact he didn't makes him negligent. It's his own fault. Exactly. He did. And he didn't. It was so much. And it was wire fraud. It was insurance fraud. It was banking fraud. I mean, even if he gets a mistrial and he goes out, is he ever going to have a job in finance or banking again? I think not. He's missed no matter what. Yep. Always. I agree with you. I sure agree with you that the key word in here is entitled. Everything about that trial, everything about most of these trials going on and the people that helped him is all about entitlement. It's all about that club of who you know, whatever, and we don't have to follow the rules. Well, eventually, you get a DA that gets annoyed with that. And right now, there's a lot of stuff going on in South Carolina. A lot for those of you that are paying attention. And they're looking at how, like, they do their judges in this old boys' school in this whole lawyering by family decree. It ain't working for them anymore. And there's a lot of new blood there that actually believes in law and order a little bit. And although they are genteel and, they believe in the Southern way and they like the way things are, except for the entitlement and the giving. They want a little bit more fair play. They want everybody to follow the same rules. And I don't blame them. And the system's going to change a little bit. And I'm looking forward to it. But and if you want more reporting on that for what's going on politically, legally, and even just the town gossip and stuff like Fitz News, people, still I recommend Fitz News. I like that group. They are independent. They know everybody over there. They're not trying to hurt anybody. They just want the information out. They give a little bit of opinion. They'll tell you when it's opinion, but they do some good reporting and they know a lot of people and they get right into the small town of it. They know the people, they know all the players, and they get the details. So if you actually want to know what's going on around there, check out Fitz News. Fair cap, Gov. Thanks, Liam. Yep. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to do something just a little different. I need to switch up some of the tabs I have open for the next one I want to talk about. So I'm going to give you a musical interlude while I change tabs. I'm just going to test something. I've never done this before. So I'm going to mute and see if you still hear it. I'm first going to put it on. And could you help me, chat, by telling me if you hear this? Do you hear it while I'm unmuted? I am back. Well, that was something different. I pushed the button and it didn't work. Thank you, Janae, for saying that. Um, I hope the interlude was okay. I do appreciate your patience while I switched over the tabs. To be honest, each case has 78 tabs open at a time with the legal documents and actual the reporting on it to make sure I get every name and every fact right for you if you ask questions. I don't want to give out any misinformation. It's a lot to keep track of. And when there's multiple cases during the same section, of course you can't have all that open or your system, regardless of how good it is, because I don't have like a big super system, is going to start bogging down and the stream is actually going to get affected. So hopefully that won't be too annoying, but I think that might work for us to do the switch over. The next one we're going to talk about, because like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm done with Murdaugh for tonight unless you have like a big question on it. And if you do, I recommend please go to the back of the video, ask me there. I will get back to you within a day, usually, right away, usually. I want to answer your questions, so don't hesitate. If something comes up later or you're curious about something, hit the back of that video. Not only are you going to be satisfying your own curiosity and getting the answer you're looking for, you'll be helping me with the algorithm. And I like that. Stroke a bear. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to comment. It works. This is what they tell me anyway. All right. So now we're going to move on to the E. Jean Carroll lawsuit against Donald Trump. That's been going on for 2 weeks in New York. but not in the state of New York court, in the federal court in New York, because of the type of case that it is and what it is. Now, this isn't our first time reporting what has been going on this. So hopefully you have some of the basics down. She is accusing ex-president Donald Trump of assaulting her in a department store in 1996. She used the Adult Victims Act that was passed in New York with the 1-year window for no necessity for statute of limitations to be lifted, that anyone could file within this 1-year window after they enacted this Adult Survivors of Sexual Assault Act, which went along with the act that the legislation they put in place for the children that grew up to be adults who now wanted to prosecute for the priest violations that they had so many to deal with, and there wasn't a vehicle to handle them. They had many young men that were in therapy that were remembering what happened to them. They had no way to actually prosecute or bring charges besides civilly, and even civilly they couldn't because of statutes of limitations. So New York addressed that based on the volumes and a whole population of people that were crying for justice. And in that process, became aware of the fact that there were many other victims who perhaps could benefit from a window. And this is the window that in November became available, and that is when E. Jean Carroll filed a second lawsuit that was for civil defamation of character for one, because she did do that article in 2019, and she did write a book. She did mention in both of them that ex-President Trump had assaulted her, and he immediately came out and attacked her. And to refresh your memory, there are two lawsuits, because in the first lawsuit, he defamed her while he was president from a podium, which they are saying he was performing his presidential duties at the time. And because of the immunity for those that are in legislation, law enforcement, and etc., performing their duties, you cannot sue them, even though it's being bounced back and forth that court right now. Washington has refused to address it because they say based on the statements that he made against E. Jean Carroll, it is not clear he was actually functioning under the order of his employer, the United States government, or, in other words, we the people. That when he was addressing E. Jean Carroll, it may have been personal. I loved reading that. That's the most common sense thing that a Supreme Superior Court has written in a long time. Well, at least in the last 9 months that I have read. Anyway, they bounced it back to DC, they bounced it back to New York, actually, to Manhattan, where it is now with the Supreme Court there, and they have to wrestle with whether or not he was acting for the employer when he spoke about E. Jean Carroll. But that first part, that case there, is stalled while that happens. But this case is on trial right now, and this one has the defamation on it that he did after he was president. Once he left office, he defamed her repeatedly again, routinely, over and over again, and then she added the assault charge to it. Now, I want to speak a little bit about E. Jean Carroll here, because the last 3 days have been extremely difficult for E. Jean Carroll. I would say not as difficult as the last 30 have been, because according to her testimony, this assault ruined her life. Ruined it. Now, yes, she was still a writer and she still wrote. But when she's on the stand and she's testifying that she can't have romantic relationships, that she has trust issues, that it has jaded everything, that her reputation is always damaged by this assault because she didn't go and report it. Like a lot of women do not. And not just women. A lot of sexual assault victims do not report their crimes to the police. They do not go and report it because there's a long history of not being believed. There's a long ingrained history of victim blaming. Now, I saw a little of this, not a little, I saw a lot of this in the Masterson trial. I spoke on it last week, on Friday, actually. I was disgusted by the way they asked certain questions because, like, what did that have to do with anything? And one of them was the precise question that Taco Pina asked, and that is the defense attorney for Donald Trump, asked E. Jean Carroll during the defense cross examination. He wanted to know if she screamed, wanted to know if she yelled and fought back. And she said no. They were stunned. I was quiet. I was like, I didn't know what to do. Well, why didn't you scream? And she looked right back at him and said, I didn't. And it wouldn't matter. He would have assaulted me whether I screamed or not. He assaulted me. Whether I screamed or not doesn't matter. It happened. You see, that's what victim blaming is all about. As if one thing you would have did would have stopped the whole thing. You're already overpowered. Something's happening to you against your will. Somebody is forcing themselves on you and treating you like you're less than. And they actually think that if you say no loud enough, if you yell in their ear, they're going to go away. Did you fight back? Did you fight back hard enough? What position were you in? Why didn't you tell anyone? My answer to all of that is, why don't you get a bone of decency? Like, I know you're doing your job, but there's a line, and there's actually laws now that protect victims from this kind of bullshit. So, Taco Pino, you're not doing yourself any favors by looking like a big old ass up there asking somebody if they screamed loud enough. I'll tell you, while I was listening and reading, I'm like, gosh darn, like, I hope you don't kiss your mama with that mouse, Taco Pino. Like, that was foul. That was foul, dude. Sorry. But I have seen incredible lawyering on E. Jean Carroll's team. Roberta Kaplan, her office, that group of partners, some of the most professional, laid out lawyering I have ever seen for laying the story down. They got a 30-year-old case. No police reports, nothing like that. And they have to lay it all out. And they're doing a damn good job for the jury, helping the jury understand why someone would not want to run to the police with something. Why the first thing you don't want to do is tell everybody what happened to you. They're doing a really good job, and I commend them. But I'm really sad they have to because of defense attorneys like Taco Pina. Now, he could challenge her statements. I agree with that. I agree that Trump deserves the defense the same as Masterson that anyone would in a trial. Okay? But go on facts, dude. Go on facts. Please. I just asked Taco Pino, please, could you remember you're a lawyer and not a damn PR agent for Trump? Like, if you want the propaganda job, take it. You want a job on the campaign, take it. Don't pretend you're a damn lawyer in there and do what you've been doing, because it's worse than just his cross-examination of E. Jean Carroll, who, by the way, remained dignified and strong and did the best she could. But she wasn't having it. She wasn't going to be blamed for what happened to her. She's not at fault here. It's her job to say exactly what happened, and she is. She had to relive the whole thing in public, something she never wanted to tell anybody about in detail. But the fact remained that every time she opened her mouth about it, she got ridiculed and harassed and obliterated by Donald Trump. They did things behind the scenes. They tried to tear it down. They tried to ruin her career. All she wants is the truth out there. She don't care what happens after that. She wants them to just tell the truth. That's what she says she's doing, telling the truth. And you know what? I believe her. Because if anybody thinks you would want to go up there after 30 years and do that and be ripped apart like that and to be called a liar that all you want is fame and fortune, what's she going to get? She's getting another round of humiliation and abuse. That's not fame and fortune. He literally said to her, "Well, back in a couple of articles, you used the word fabulous about your life. That doesn't sound like you've got any trauma from this." She said, "It was a PR interview. Of course I'd say that. You think I'm going to, like, every time I'm talking to somebody, talk about the rape, how I really feel? What is wrong with him?" Hmm. So now you're not even allowed to be okay. Because if she's anywhere near okay after 30 years, if she actually tried to rebuild her life and carry on, then that means it didn't happen? What the heck is that? I didn't tell you. It just really burned my butt a little bit. And I don't know. I don't mean to soapbox on about it, but let me get back to the rest of it because besides that, Taco Pino decided that, well, he's going to file for another mistrial again. This is absolutely this is almost funny. Okay, it sounds okay. When I tell you the reasons that he's filing for the mistrial, I want you all to tell me who that sounds like. Like, really, like, who does this sound like? Well, first of all, let me bring up Gene. Okay, Gene was on the stand from Thursday till Monday afternoon. Okay, from Thursday till Monday afternoon. Now, Thursday, she was the direct examination by her attorneys. Okay, and then after that, um, after that was the cross examination by Taco Pina for 2 days. Okay, you know, I do see what you're saying in the chat, and I will say that you can believe that accusations are political, but to believe that someone would go through this for a political aspiration is foolish. It's small-minded, and it's not very considerate of the victims. And if you're going to come in here and try to make this about political parties, Democratic or Republican, I'll ask you kindly to step out before I have one of my mods knock you off of YouTube, at least on my channel, because it's not about that. Okay. Yes, and legally they're allowed to bring it up. And I will also remind you that there are 46 women making these accusations. Don't even get me started on how they're all political. Is it political that he does that? When he admitted it himself in interviews. You remember the Billy Bush tip? He was proud of it. Don't come in here and make this about red and blue and all of that stuff. But the statute of limitations doesn't exist in New York. There's an open window for 12 months that they get to file old claims. Educate yourself, please. Okay? Or step out. Because I'm not going to argue semantics with an uneducated person on the issue. And mods, if this continues, do it for me, please. Anyway, I'm going to commend her for coming forward. I'm going to say no one would do this willingly for any other reason but get peace in their own life, especially with what she's been enduring for all this time. Because this isn't just this trial right now that she's been enduring it. It's been from she even first spoke about it, which took quite a few years for her to do. Okay. She has been a columnist of advice. She has tried to keep herself actually, functioning. People in her personal life will be testifying as they did today, along with other women who say the same thing happened to them even prior to 1996, 1998. So I don't think like 46 people could be all lying, but you can believe what you want. Mm. I don't think I'm just gonna laugh at it. I really am. Um Would Ahmad please remove the political discussion for me? Because I don't want to turn this into red versus blue. That's not what I'm talking about here. And if you don't have the respect enough for me as a creator to stay on topic, please leave. Leave before somebody has to put you in timeout. Because I'm officially calling you to go to your room. Yeah, he's innocent until proven guilty, but he's not showing up to defend himself, sir. But anyway, I digress. Well, back on topic with Carroll, Jean Carroll, who, again, I will say I commend her strength for doing it, because that's the kind of stuff that you just saw in the chat that she has to put up with for her whole life so far, since this happened. Because don't say anything about him. It couldn't possibly be true. Mm-mm. It's all got to be politically motivated. Like I'm up here, no pay, no, actually, I'm an independent. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. And of course, anything I have to say, it's got to be because I'm anti this or I'm anti that. That's all bullshit. That's all weak arguments. That's what people say when they have nothing to go against what's going on. They don't want to have a real discussion. I'm talking here about victim blaming. They want to make it about Republican versus Democrat. Or because we don't like him. Is it true I don't like the man? I don't. I live on the East Coast. I got much more history than that person who's chatting in my chat would ever know about the person as a man and a businessman and what he's done to communities. Real people. It's not political. Entitled, selfish assholes are entitled, selfish assholes, whether they get voted into office or not. This is about an assault trial, in a defamation trial. And it's being laid out really well. And you know how you know it's going really well? Because people like that are so pissed off. Because they're so annoyed that it just might have to be accountable for something that they did. It just might have to be accountable for something that they did. That there's a vehicle that can be used to make them accountable for something that they did. Guess they were counting on that statute of limitations. Guess they were counting on that strong arming and threatening monetarily, sometimes even physically, definitely by bringing millions of people against you by shouting your name out from a podium and turning all of the people that support you against a person for personal reasons, not for the country, not while doing your job. Let's be clear here. That was personal. Wielding that entitlement in everything that they can because they can, not for the greater good. Show me one damn thing that person, ex-president Donald Trump, has ever done for the greater good. Go ahead and show me. The greater good, not the minority, not the butt kisses, not the super fans. The greater good, the majority, we the people, the actual whole country, not the pandering ones, not the ones you're pandering to. How about the whole damn country? Show me one damn thing where the majority and the people. Anyway, that's off. Yup, she did. And what does that have to do with this? Does that mean it didn't happen? I don't think so. Blaming the victim doesn't mean it didn't happen. Whatever she has done in her life afterwards doesn't mean the event didn't happen. Doesn't mean he doesn't get held accountable for what he did. You don't have to like her. You don't have to like how she lived. You don't have to like what she says. You don't have to like what's going on now. Whatever you say about her and what she lived in her life does not mean it didn't happen. I agree. It's been turned political to divert attention from the victim. Exactly. It's another way to victim blame. If everyone is talking about it being political, then the victim is sidelined and muted, basically narcissistic intent. Exactly. Exactly. You don't have to believe her. You don't. But it doesn't mean it doesn't happen, whether you believe her or not. It's going to be up to the jury. This is due process. The jury gets to decide. And she had every right to bring it to a jury. Every right. Janae, this is the law that actually made this lawsuit possible. Okay? Because of all of that happened. There is now a 1-year window that started in November around the 25th, I believe, or the 22nd of 2022. 1 whole year that people are going to be able to file these claims for New York. Because the window of opportunity was opened by the statute. That is why the case is coming forward now. If the window of opportunity was open the year before or the year before that, or even next year, this case would have come forward anyway. Because if, as what everybody is saying is true, then that would have happened before they were even voted into office. Your arguments don't match up with time and they don't make sense. And I don't want to argue about it. Either you want to hear what's going on in the trial or you won't. But I'm not going to argue semantics with you people onto why there is one. Because everyone deserves due process, including the ex-president. And he's getting his due process. But he doesn't get to call foul and that he doesn't have to answer for due process. Cry about it all you want. He's a regular citizen now. He was a regular citizen when the crime occurred. Anyway, Jean Carroll held her own against Tacopina the best she could. Tacopina wasn't doing very good lawyering. There isn't a lawyer. Well, there's one, maybe two of the lawyers on YouTube that actually thought he was doing the best job that he could. Actually, I understand that he wants to get the best defense he can for his client, and he needs to challenge everything that Jean Carroll says, and that's standard. They should do that. Absolutely, he absolutely was right for doing that. But what he shouldn't be doing, which Judge Kaplan kept repeatedly correcting him on, repeatedly, I say, because it was not once, not twice, not 3 times, but over the course of the 2 days, a lot, a lot. Instead of asking a question, he was acting like it was closing statements. He was making argumentative statements, which are not allowed during cross-examination. You need to ask questions of the witness. You need to challenge what she's saying in a way, in a question format for them to answer back to you. Not make statements to the jury about what you think is going on or what you want them to believe. You actually have to present evidence by pulling the information out of the witness. That's how testimony works. That's legaling 101, which Tacopino clearly forgot and actually was acting like a PR mouthpiece instead of doing his job. And it actually may have hurt the case, because then when he filed his 18-page mistrial request, saying that because the judge corrected him in what is a legal format that is appropriate in court, which happens every time, that just because he was corrected, that shows bias to Jean Carroll instead of Trump. And that because he wasn't allowed to give a speech as to why the president wouldn't be there, the ex-president wouldn't be there to defend himself, because, he had to go dig dirt in Scotland or Ireland or someplace like that. Much more important. He's a busy man. He can't defend himself because this is nothing. Okay. He has a right not to. Fine. His deposition is on file and it will be read. But he doesn't get, if he makes the decision not to be there, it doesn't mean we get to do a whole PR presentation for him. It's not allowed. We don't make exceptions like that. This is a court of law. This is a different set of rules. This is not the political playground you all want it to be. Law and order. Court of law. Judge says, judge rules. Okay? That's the way it goes. You know? I'm not here to argue your personal beliefs. I'm here to talk about a case. If you don't want to talk about the case, please leave. And I would like to say this to my mods and to everybody else in the chat. I don't want to be rude. I open an open chat. I want everybody to have an opinion. But what is being expressed here is not opinion. It's personal belief and attacking for no other reason that then they support one side or the other. They don't want to talk about the legal going backs and forth of this case, whether it's true crime, whether it's kind of like that ship has already sailed. I don't want to talk about the war. I don't want to talk about Epstein. Right now, I'm talking about E. Jean Carroll's lawsuit against Donald Trump, ex-president, for defamation and assault. If you don't want to talk about that, kindly step outside. And if they continue, will a mod please escort them if they won't willingly go themselves? Because I just find you to be rude, and I don't need to put up with rude. I'm done putting up with rude. I've had all I'm going to take from people who don't know what grace is. You fucking made mine evaporate. Any more of that, you guys know what to do. I'm serious. I want opinion. I want questions. I want open discussion. I don't want anybody in here telling me what their beliefs are or the bullshit or any of this political garbage in a true crime stream. They want to come to my political stream and do it. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Well, help me out, mods. Just take care of that. I don't want to see any more of that shit. Hey, Pete. Thanks for being here. You missed the Murdaugh part in the beginning. Hopefully, you'll catch it on the replay. Well, here we go. Back to Taco Pina in his 18 page suit. Did I drop that link? Just in case, I'm going to drop it again. Here is the actual letter so you can see for yourself. I don't make this stuff up. This is real. This guy played clown. He played clown on this. But thank you, Shill. You're doing awesome. Please keep it up. I really am interested. Thank you. I am. I'm going to stay and do it. I'm not going to let them persuade me. Just you guys do your job and keep those people that just want to disrupt out. I mean, if they actually have something to say, I'm willing to hear it. But I'm done arguing with ignorance about things that really aren't the subject we're talking about. I really am. I am. I mean, they can approach me separately if they want to talk ignorant. I'll give them a second before I kick them to the curb. Anyway, even the sketch artists, as you can see, caught the judge, Jean Carroll, and Taco Pina in this little drawing where you could see the judge was not having this. Repeatedly, this is what was going on in the last couple of days. And that's why when I first came out and I said I really wanted to speak about E. Jean Carroll's courage, her dignified testimony, she did push back. She wasn't going to have words put in her mouth or have things again said about her. They were trying to say her ulterior motive was money. And she's like, I didn't even specify money. I want my life back, period. She said, I want my life back. I want the truth, period. That's what it's about. You don't have to believe her. She has every right to be here, to tell her story, to try to get her life back. It's up to the jury whether they're going to believe that this happened. She does have her friends, she told right away. She has people that also were attacked in the same manner. Oh, there was a witness, an 81-year-old woman, testified today in regards to being accosted on an airplane because she just happened to be sitting next to him. And he forcibly groped, fingered, and manhandled her, kissed her against her will because she was sitting next to him. She got up and left and went to another seat. Happened prior to 1996, happened in the late 70s. You don't have to go far to find 46 different events like this of women who have said that Donald has done things this way. And there are people willing to go to a court of law and testify to it now. I don't think that that makes it political to want your life back. I think it's very clear here they're not going against the politics. They're going against the man and the act. The act that happened is illegal, demeaning. It's meant to make someone feel less than. I don't feel sorry for somebody that has to defend themselves against it when they won't. Mm-mm. Nope, I don't. I don't think that they deserve any special treatment because of offices that they held. Anyone who would do this to another human being deserves the same treatment as anybody else. The lowest person gets the same treatment as the highest person on the totem pole when it comes to the law and what's illegal. Mm-mm. And anybody who really doesn't understand that, anyone who doesn't really understand that or stand behind that, I can't help you. You're on the wrong channel. You're listening to the wrong person. Because it doesn't matter whether I like him or not, whether I voted for him. No, it is not, regardless of what everybody is saying, political. How could it be when you have to embarrass yourself the way this woman did for 3 days on a stand? Who'd do that for politics? Really, seriously. The ignorance is showing. They have pulled down their pants and showed their ugly arse. And you know what? I got no bones about pointing at it and laughing. They can keep coming, and you guys can keep tossing them out because we're not going to stop. I'm waiting to whatever outcome we get for this trial. It's just about going to be rounding up. You know, Judge Kaplan very specifically said it would be about 2 weeks. Okay. And it could be. This is Judge Kaplan, by the way, a very serious guy. He's also the judge on this other trial we're following, Samuel Bankman-Fried from FTX for the bankrupt. That's the judge there too. He's very serious in that one too. He's not really messing around. I don't envy him. He's in a really tough position here. He's got to kind of keep it he's got to keep it cool for everybody involved, you know. Michael, that's a very good question. I'm going to put that up. Michael Berman says, since it is a civil trial, what is the possibility outcome for Trump found guilty? It is actually easier to prove the burden of guilt here because you don't have to do guilty without a doubt. Okay? Here, the proponents of evidence just has to say it's more than likely this happened and he's guilty. They already do know that he made the statements and defamed them. If they can say that it's more than likely that the assault actually happened, which would make the statements he said about E. Jean Carroll being a liar untrue, then he will be found guilty on both counts. But it's going to be up to a jury. There are more men on the jury than women. It's 6-3, I think, or 5-3. I forget how many there were. Not anyway. There are only 3 women, and there are 9 men, I believe. It will be up to the jury. The jury is sequestered. Nobody's allowed to know who they are because they're worried about. They're worried because of prior history of the defendant, of the jury being accosted, harassed. tampered with. All those nice little obstruction words. Judge already did protected them that way. There's no court like in this court. There are no cameras, and the reporting coming out is from the dedicated sources from the reports. I'm getting everything right from the legal documents and then sourcing the articles after the fact, just to make sure. So to make sure that I only give you true information, facts from the court, okay, and not just speculation on the behalf of some reporter or anything else. You know. So that was a good question. It's easier in a civil case because the burden of proof is less. It just has to be more than likely. It has to tilt towards probably more so happened than probably not. That's it. And it's going to be up to the jury as just far as punitive damages and any kind of damages that are awarded. It'll be up to the court and the jury. Mhm. Exactly. Chill. I agree with that. Please be respectful. Please don't victim blame. You'll be timed out and or removed. Thank you. Thank you, T King. And CF Beauty, thank you. Where were you, Butte? I could have used those boxing gloves about 15, 20 minutes ago. I really could. I really could. Um, it basically there was no in regards to the question of why would somebody wait so long to come forward. Okay. Um, it took a long it based on her words alone from testimony. If you're talking about this victim, uh, E. Jean Carroll said basically in the beginning she didn't want to say anything. She was embarrassed, humiliated. She felt the shame that many feel. She felt that she was there in this department store and she had been talking to him kindly and maybe whatever. She did what often happens after an assault. You try to figure out what you did to cause it. And if you've read anything with the psychologists and therapists who are dealing with the victims of abuse, that happens 90% of the time. 85% of assaults do not get reported. Yeah, that's a fact. From 2022 psychological analysis and surveys being done from therapies and victims who are 85% of them do not get reported. Okay, just because they're not reported does not mean it didn't happen. Okay, those are big statistics. So it's not uncommon not to report it, to deal with it. You try to deal with it. It's embarrassing. It's probably, if you think about it, I mean, gosh, why wait so long? You ask that question. And I say, okay, put yourself in your foot. The most humiliating thing that can happen to you in the world. What would you do? What would you do? We don't know. So we're not going to victim blame. And if you're saying why now, it's because a vehicle to report it became available. In the state of New York, where the incident happened, a window opened for a year for sexual abuse survivors, adult survivors of sexual abuse, no matter when it happened, to come forward and plead their case to the court. That's what happened. And a lot of people are using it. The statute of limitations is something that I speak on a lot. Many states have many different statutes of limitations and guidelines. California has done some great work in allowing the fact that if somebody's in therapy and had trouble actually dealing with the event, that perhaps the statute of limitations could be extended for them. If there are extenuating circumstances, like in another case that I'm following, like Masterson, where they were actually prevented in some manner from reporting the incident within the timely manner, they can still proceed forward. It takes a lot of legal hoops to jump through, and I can't imagine any victim trying to do it if they were not assaulted. People want to argue the semantics of it back and forth, but you can't argue the fact you don't know if that assault happened or not. Why would the person want to do this if it didn't? Seriously. I believe them when they say they just want their life back. I believe I do. Because we could see evidence of it. I'll take pause. I'll take pause because I'm explaining things that I thought people would just rationally know. But it is in our human nature right now and very prevalent in our society to victim blame. And I got to tell you, it's really pissing me off. It's really making me kind of sad that in 2023 we're still doing that. Even though time and time again we have shown the abuse of victims when trying to report. We have shown the victim being the one on trial erroneously instead of the accuser. We have seen them laughed at, scoffed at, and actually people pumping around with their chests out because they got away with it. Let's not forget that this defendant, and this the only reason I'm mentioning it is because it will be submitted as evidence into this trial, bragged in a Billy Bush interview about if he wanted to kiss someone, he would just grab them and kiss them. What are they going to do? I'm famous. What are they going to do? I grab them by the pee. Because that's what I do. He said that. He bragged about that. He acted like that was actually acceptable behavior. Like it was kind of cool. I don't think so. Treating another human being with such disregard is disgusting. And I will tell you this, it says more about him. It says a lot about him and the entitlement. And it actually speaks to me about how it's possible that this could have happened. It really does. His own mindset about it actually shows me it's good possibility it did happen. It's not working in his favor at all. So, ugh, let me just check for questions. I don't want to leave y'all hanging. Tony says, I'm not surprised that a lot of women didn't go to the police about these assaults. If you think victim blaming is bad now, it was 100 times worse in the 70s and 80s. I hear you, Tony. It actually was. And it's all of that is why the percentage is so high as to why people will not come forward, because they're like, why put myself through that? They're all going to look at me like I did something wrong. Don't they have enough to deal with? Take on other people's scorn. In the United States, it varies from state to state. There's not a federal guideline that they all go by, although they're working on, well, there is, but there isn't. The state is still allowed to amend it to their preferences, Janae. So that's a question I can't get into great detail on. Okay. But in this particular case, they used the window, like I said, in New York. And in the Masterson case that I am actually following, they use the extenuating circumstances of another party preventing them from filing. And the only way they could actually go forward is if they could show it was a pattern, which is why all three were filed together as charges, Jane Doe 1, 2, and 3, because of the similarity of the events and things like that. If it was just one person, it would have been harder to get through. And this is why Danny Masterson is facing a life sentence. Because of the 3 counts, it would be 45 years, which constitutes in California is to a life sentence there. Okay, but that's California law, the Masterson case. And here with Carroll, we're dealing with New Jersey. I mean, not New Jersey, New York. I'm sorry, I got Jersey on the mind. I'm from New Jersey. But anyway, in New York. If you want to know any other specific states, I will look for documentation, some kind of let's say table or chart that will have all the different states on it, Janae. And if I can find that, I will link it to the video. Or I will link it to all of the Masterson and Carroll videos so it's available. Because that's a very good question. for future reference. And thank you for asking it. Hey, NA, thank you for coming. Yes, CF Beauty, I agree. She has a ton of courage in my opinion also. I could not believe the kinds of questions she had to put up with today and how she very calmly just pushed back a little bit. He tried to humiliate her, embarrass her, call her a liar, say she was in it for the money, say all these different reasons that she was in it for, and she just held strong. She did. Yes. Hey, MJ, I agree with you. Society does have a long way to go. Just simple human decency. This was, in closing, I'd like to say this was E. Jean Carroll leaving court after her grueling testimony and her cross examinations. Um, she wasn't thrilled. You can see it was a long, hard day, right? But she was strong in standing. Her head somewhat up. She was supported by her attorney and friends. Okay. That is second chair there supporting her, making sure. Remember, she's 79 years old while she's testifying to this. Do you really think that's what she wants to be doing? I'm sure she thinks she has better things to do. Well, she seems to be holding up a little bit better than he is. He looks like he's got some things worried about. This was him as he heard that he would not be allowed to present, his lawyer would not be allowed to present a PR presentation of how busy he was and why he couldn't be there and blah, 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 blah. The judge shot that down. And as he heard that he wasn't getting a mistrial, because I have to tell you that Judge Kaplan just like, nope, that mistrial's not going to happen. Not because I actually had to school you on the letter of the law. Judge Kaplan does not believe he's being biased just because he's not allowing them to make extenuating circumstances for everything that they want to do. Everything that Taco Pino is asking for is like outside the norm of what normally happens. Okay. Including the fact that apparently it would be inconvenient for ex-President Trump to come to testify in his defense because of the security that would be needed and the change. And actually, they're being kind to the court. And Judge Kaplan just shot back, well, I'm sorry. If he can actually go on a campaign trail with all of those security people and he's getting on a plane and he's going here and he's going there and he's doing interviews, he can damn well show up to court if he wanted to. It would be the same. We have offices here. We deal with celebrities all the time. We deal with very popular cases all the time. Like, we know what to do. And he does bring his own security. So, no, that's not flying. I'd have to say, I'm kind of impressed that Judge Kaplan stuck off for that. Because it would be easy just to kowtow down to it, the entitlement, like, why do I have to do what everybody else has to do? Why do I possibly have to follow the same rules as everybody else? I mean, is this the party of law and order? Oh, God, I said something political, but I just couldn't help it. Law and order exists for everyone. Don't be touting that people have to follow the law. Only certain people have to follow the laws. Only certain people have to abide by the way things usually go. I mean, because last I saw, there wasn't a sign on your head. It said you were the exception to every rule. When it comes to a courtroom, that's a fair, equal playing ground. And if you can't play on a fair, equal playing ground, then don't play. What just shows me that they're used to doing things in an overpowering way, taking advantage, skirting the issues, bending the rules. You don't get to do that in a court of law. The judge gets to say. He has the final say about everything. And so the only thing they could do was attack him. Attack the judge. Said he was being biased. Let me just read this one paragraph as to why they wanted a mistrial. This came from Taco Pino himself. Okay. A mistrial should be granted because the court has mischaracterized the evidence in favor of the plaintiff, bolstered the testimony of the plaintiff, allowed plaintiff to testify the defendant has 2 tables of lawyers at a trial, while prohibiting defendant from fairly clarifying the record by showing that plaintiff has a comparable amount of lawyers. Continuously sustained improper argumentative objections of plaintiffs counsel as to questions using a well-established and accepted looping method of cross-examination. This is what I told you about him actually saying that he should be able to do his closing argument instead of just asking the questions, which is not a continuously sustained an acceptable looping method of cross-examination. I don't think so, Taco Pino. I don't. And neither does most of the lawyers that have been writing opinion on this. Permitted the testimony of Natasha Stoyanov, who is another victim, okay, when it was clear her testimony does not fit within the requirements of 401 or 402B. This was all done in pre-trial, okay? They already discussed this. He already motioned against this and was declined. And when it comes to 401 and 402, we had this in the Murdaugh trial, did we not? In regards to financial information coming in regards to a murder trial. And the judge gets to decide, after hearing what the testimony would be, whether or not it is probative, more probative, which means beneficial in information that the jury needs, to either the state of mind, pattern, habit, whatever. Okay. Lots of things come in, like prior history, other acts that they may have done, like in this case. Okay. Or whether it's prejudicial. Now, granted, if you have done this more than once, of course it will be prejudicial for somebody to know about it. You may be more inclined to think that they do it again. That part could be prejudicial. Okay. But when you're trying to show that, is it more likely that this happened than not? Because we don't have DNA evidence. We don't have a police report. We don't have that. The judge has to decide if the state is actually being penalized by not allowing that testimony. And in this case, Judge Kaplan decided by not allowing the testimony that Carroll's case would be unfairly penalized. Okay. Now, she did say that Kaplan did say that Tacopino was fair and he could address this witness as, ask them all the questions, try to disprove the story, talk about the facts, lay your case out in front of the jury as you should by questioning the witness. But we are going to let the witness testify. And so now he wants a mistrial because she testified when it was all addressed in pretrial hearing already. They knew she was coming. It wasn't a surprise. It's ridiculous. Once everything excluded, okay, but then the judge then kind of like reminded him, well, you guys aren't doing things fair anyway, and I'm going to admonish you for this. And he actually got upset and put that in the mistrial because he was told that they're not supposed to be out on Twitter clearly talking about issues that they held in private chambers about funding that came through the lawyer's office 2 years after the suit was filed for expenses through a charity that does this, because one of the largest donators, happened to make a statement several years ago that he didn't like Trump. And that's all true. And some of that was all leaked. And then they had this big discussion in private chambers, decided to seal it, and it wouldn't be part of the case. And then the Trump family went out there and the lawyers went out there and tweeted about it. And the judge took exception to that. So they got caught with their pants down, but they're trying to get a mistrial on it. No, judge says no. Your misdeeds don't qualify for a mistrial here because I told you shouldn't be doing that when you knew you shouldn't be doing that. If you got embarrassed in front of the jury about that, that's on you. You shouldn't have did that. I'm allowed to tell you that was wrong because it was. Period. Yep. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I thought that was quite amusing. You tried to go that route. Okay. Express distress about bringing up the donations and stuff that was like, you see, It appears to me from the rulings that Judge Kaplan has been making that he gets annoyed anytime they try to bring the political aspects of this into it by any side. If either one of them do that, he's like, knock it off, court of law, just the facts. Let's just proceed like lawyers and not campaigners. Lawyers here. Hello. I mean, that's what he's doing. And now they're calling bias because they're getting treated like a lawyer instead of a campaign manager. I don't know what to tell him. Thank you, Tony. Thank you very much. I'm going to post. If it's a good one, I think I will post that for everyone for some more information, and I will definitely do some more reading on these because it'll definitely be coming up repeatedly. I'm working on a couple of other streams about it, probably for several of my other series, just because it's a conversation that has to keep going. Thank you for honoring and actually seeing the importance of it and contributing. I appreciate it. I really do. So that link there is the article that Tony just sent to me. That gives a lot more information in regards to what's been going on with victim blaming and some of the common things that happen and a lot of the percentages. Yes, Janae, the woman was 80 years old. And I'm sure she had a lot better things to do than to put up with his abuse. Yeah. And they want to just like say, oh, man. Yep. Mm. True. We do have evidence of what needs to change, MJ. I agree. It's just getting it done. It's going to be so darn difficult. Liam says, there's been cases of husbands divorcing wives who have been assaulted. Sometimes it's just the event which can destroy a current or any future relationship. It's true. That's true. Until you've actually been there or know someone who has, you can't possibly understand. But there are plenty of psychiatrists who testify every day in court, forensic psychologists, okay, psychiatrists, therapists who talk about the process that victims go through. And it's all individual, but there are some things that are very common. And it's very common not to report. It's also, sadly, they ask you, did you fight? They ask you, did you scream? Did you know that less than 15% of people actually fight back or scream because they're so taken aback? They don't know what to do. It's that traumatic. It's everything that's going on. You don't want to die. Of that 15%, most of them occur only if they don't know the attacker, if it's stranger, if it's someone they know. They're so horrified. They can't believe what's going on. They think they're confused. They're trying to figure it out. Barely anything is over before you can do a thing. The sad statistics are that the things they're questioning about rarely happen, and they're trying to make it like it should happen. Like if you didn't do that, then you must be lying, because I would do that. Yeah, I'm sure a man questioning a woman about that. Yeah, he would, right? Yeah, he would. Tell me how you understand how that is. You're going to tell her how she should have responded, what the norm is, when there's so many statistics, it's so many studies, and so many other actual qualified experts who go against what you're trying to tell the jury there with your questioning. It's asinine. There are better ways to do it. And I'm sorry that that's too hard for them to work out a better lawyering way to do it than take the easy way out and blame the victim, because that's what it is. Take the easy way out. You know what that tells me? When they start blaming the victim, they've got no defense. They've got no defense. Why not talk to me about alibi? Why not talk to me about character witnesses that say that you couldn't possibly do that? Are you afraid the other 46 women might have to step up? It's bullshit. Sorry. I know that's not a legal term, but it fits. I know, Sheil. There's so much that comes with it, and I'm so sorry. Yep, the time runs out, Janae. Like, there should be a vehicle to where if they're in therapy or they can prove that they needed some adjustment time to get used to this for whatever. I don't mean just like taking your time and then deciding you're mad 20 years later. I don't mean that. I mean like the ones who really were adjusting to it in therapy, having issues about it. If that's all documented that they talk to therapists right away, or there's documentation of them actually doing something, especially if they filed a police report. If they went and committed, all right, if you have gone through the process to actually go down there and file a police report, gave your evidence, and I mean your DNA, they've done their whole exam, you've given your statement, but then because of emotional trauma or the fact of dealing with it, you decide you got to hold off, there shall be no statute of limitations there. You have done what you can to document the case. You have said it existed and given evidence to it. And the fact that they throw statute of limitations, you only have this amount of time to do this, or like 90 days for prosecution to decide whether they're going to go after the person or not, that's all bullshit. No, you need to give victims the time. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. We need to find a better way. We do. And that's the kind of changes I want to see with statute of limitations. I can't, I don't think I know the best way. I'm sure it's complicated and very difficult to do. And I'm sure there's a lot of things that have to be factored in. I just want to see people to keep trying to make it better for them. That's all I want to see. Movement in the right direction to try to get the system changed for everyone. For everyone. Hmm. All right, let me just double check. Yep, I agree always. Again, entitled. Yes, Liam, you really should cancel that appointment to get I am the exception to every single rule on your forehead if it doesn't really work. Because it doesn't really work. It's not working in this case. And wow, he's really famous. So please don't get that tattooed. Don't. But thank you for making me laugh and making this a little bit better for me at the end. I appreciate it. Mm. Yes, and you know what? NA and MJ, I absolutely agree that some of those laws have to change for entitlement on that. Um, I want them to be protected. I just don't know how we can go about that without bankrupting us, when they're causing the problem themselves. Entitled. What- A pattern of bad behavior is probably a good thing to show bad behavior if continuity can be shown to. Exactly. And here's the thing, because it was not an actual penetration assault, it's not the same event, but it was forcible entitlement and it was touching and groping and accosting her against her will. um that is why it came in, Liam. You're spot on. It showed prior bad behavior. It showed a proponent tendency to actually conduct himself with other people this way. Yep. And I agree, Anna. This is just more of the same games that they always do. But in a court of law, it doesn't work. And this is why everyone's so frustrated, because you don't get to play those games in a court of law as easily. It's the judge really has respect for the law. That's why they're a judge, you know? And it's a whole different area. It's an even playing field. Judge is there to keep it even. And I guess Taco Pino didn't think it was going to be that difficult. I guess he thought he had the upper hand and found out he actually had to play the game fair. And I guess if you're not able to, hmm, that's what's going on. Now we're going to see what happens for the rest of the week. But on that, I'm getting a little long winded here. So I think I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to check one more time for questions. Hey, Mark Caesar, how are you? Mhm. Ah. Yeah, Murdaugh. Murdaugh was something. You are. I was talking about him previously, but when it comes to like bad lawyering, like Murdaugh takes the cake, does he not? Like, because he's fleeced everybody. Like he's like the worst, the worst, the worst, the worst of lawyering 101 I ever heard. But actually, in two of these trials that I'm watching out, I do have to say that in the Masterson trial, which by the way I'll be doing again tomorrow, we'll do an update from Friday, continuing with Cedric, Jane Doe three's husband Cedric, and going on into Jane Doe 1, in some of the other quite interesting events that have happened in the last 2 days. We'll be going tomorrow night. I'm thinking 9 o'clock Eastern time. I like to perform a little later. That way I can get the rest of the trial events of the day under my belt. I'm sorry if you can't be here for live chat because it's too late, but there's always replay. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to hit the back of the video. If you haven't been here in the chat to ask them, I will answer you. Just hit that comment section. It helps me and you get an answer. And also, I just like answering your comments. I like to see you guys out there. It's nice to know I actually exist besides this little room here, like out there on YouTube a little bit. It kind of reaffirms why I do this a bit. Well, I appreciate it. Well, trying to get them to act like lawyers, Mark, on the defense side has been a little rough. But I will say, in the Masterson side, with the retrial, the prosecution has done a much better job of laying things out and actually giving additional information to the jury for things they may not have understood, like the process in Scientology that kept the women from reporting, and also common victim behaviors, or what they would call counterintuitive behaviors, like not in their best interest, but they end up doing this. Even though they are the victim, they end up doing certain things that are actually against them. And why that's so common, they've actually brought in expert witness that testified for that, and it was striking, the percentages, some of which I repeated today again, as researching. They're all over the place that way. Um, You know what, Liam, I agree with you, but it's not a matter of whether we like the man or not. It's a matter of respect and due process. I do find that the way they are handling it is pretty much the way everything gets handled in regards to the defense, and those people that are representing it. And that would be like outside of the rules, just doing whatever they want. And that doesn't work in a court of law. In It's disrespectful. And I hope they get held to task for it. Yep. There you go. Um, it's funny you mention MJ Truth Social, because it's the tweets on Truth Social about E.G. and Carroll that are actually documented as proof of the defamation for this this trial that's going on right now. He actually, in his own words, did it not only on a podium and not only on his campaign or whatever when he was not president anymore. Anytime he did an interview, he documented. He just wouldn't let go. He just like he thought he got away with it the first time, so he just went and he got mad. He did it again, and he just kept doing it. And she fought back. And when a vehicle opened up for her to fight back, she just decided to battle up. She put on her suit of armor and she did it. And if that's how she gets it back at 79 years old, I hope she does get her power back. I hope she gets her dignity back and she gets her reputation back. And the truth comes out, whatever it is. Well, on that, oh, Liam says he was referring to the person in a charity who openly said they didn't like Trump. It's such a big so what, but Trump's ego couldn't let it go. Exactly, Liam, except for he said just a little bit more. I should expand on that. He actually said he had a lot of money and he would spend it all just to make sure that Trump couldn't hold office. So that was like the full context of the statement. I don't want you to be like to go without the full context there. And so that's why they're using it, because they're trying to say that because this particular organization gives money to, this is a contingency case. It's a civil lawsuit. So unless she wins, the lawyers don't actually get a lawyer fee. Okay. But they had expenses. expenses like investigators, filing fees, all of these. There are nonprofit organizations for contingency fees for victims that you can go to get those expenses paid. And so the lawyers, not Jean Carroll, but the lawyers, Roberta Kaplan's law office, went to this organization to get those fees, to apply for those fees in a regular due process kind of thing. And because the man who donates a lot of the money and set up this fund actually made that statement about Trump, that's what they're trying to use. So it's kind of like a roundabout circle. They're trying to say that E. Jean Carroll only filed her lawsuit because they don't want Trump to be president again. And that's what I find so ridiculous about the people that came in to talk about that. Because, first of all, she filed her lawsuit 2 years before the lawyers even had expenses or knew that there was a fund to get the money from. And the man's statement was not made to E. Jean Carroll or anywhere near her. She doesn't subscribe to him, or like they don't have a great association. There's no tie that anybody could see besides the lawyers getting the money for the expenses from the charity. Okay. So I don't know. It's just one of those, like, one part of it's true. And I could just, like, I'm just going to go all over the place with it. Like, you know, it's like saying that square over there is red. Therefore, the whole world is red. I mean, that's how I look at it. They're taking one little part and trying to turn it into this huge thing, which it's not. Yep. Trying to show that the money biased them. Exactly, Liam. That's what it was. CF Beauty, that's going to be his end, okay? Is that he never stops, right? It's annoying, but he almost always does himself in. So, on that, I'm going to say, y'all been watching the scroll. You know what it says. It says, thank you very much for participating in chat, because I absolutely love that. I'm here to have the conversation, not just put the information out, but to give it to you and to talk about it and to see if you have questions about it. And this is what I love. This is my hobby, so to speak, about it. So I'm glad when you're all here to do it. And I really do appreciate all of your contributions to the conversation, your questions, your comments, and all back and forth. And I appreciate your time for being here. For those of you following up on a replay, if you have questions, just hit me on the back of the video with a comment. If you have other things about sources that you want to know, please also address me. I want you to have all the information. Well, that's going to be it for tonight. Don't forget to like, share, and comment. And if you're not already a member, either here or in the Patreon, please consider it. It's quite reasonable, and you will have a really good time over in Discord, where we talk about this kind of stuff all the time, and all the other types of shows that I do. And we play a lot of games and just hang out and have some fun. And everybody gets to be themselves with their own opinion. And we don't judge by red or blue, black or white, male or female, up or down. Everybody just gets to be themselves, unless they're ornery cusses like the ones that showed up today. But on that, hey Paula, hey Ashley, I'm on my way out, but thank you so much for being here, and thank you all. On that, I'm going to put that outro on, and I'm going to see you all tomorrow, 9 o'clock.